Hey, hey, hey. Happy Monday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. Welcome aboard. Tonight is Monday, April 17th, 2023. This is live stream number 910. If you're not familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And then most of the time, we will take a live first look at a game, which is what we'll be doing tonight. That's right. I am be diving on into Open Up, the box set for Dungeon Crawl Classics Dying Earth from Goodman Games. Yes, I am very much looking forward to checking this out. So that is what we are going to be taking a peek at tonight. So do want to mention, if you are tuning in to see the live first look at Dying Earth, keep in mind we tackled the tabletop gaming news first around here. So it'll probably be about 35 minutes or so before we get on into that first look. So if you are watching live, kick back, relax, put your feet up. It's Monday. I'm sure you already had a long start to the week. So just take it easy. Enjoy the tabletop gaming news. But then again, if you happen to be watching this 30 minutes or more after the show ends, there will be timestamps. So if you're impatient and you just gotta get to that unboxing, you'll be able to jump ahead by using those timestamps. They are located in the show notes, and depending on the device you might happen to be watching this on, might even be right there in the timeline, right in front of your eyes. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you will not find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, because this is a live stream, that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the Gaming Gang channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, maybe there's something about Dying Earth you want a closer look at, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate in chat tonight is Kathy Evans, followed by the Motor City Madman. That's right, Detroit's finest. The Madman is with us. He is also one of our chat moderators. Dan Wheeler is here. Vaughn Moore, Chuck Terrell, Mark Dandy, Roger Bruhome, John Muscola, and I think that's everybody who's in chat right now, or at least who's chiming in chat. I know we usually have a few lurkers. So if Sarah D and Mr. Eddie T are watching, so welcome everybody. Good to have you hanging out tonight. So we got a big show. So let's dive right on in, and we'll start off, as we always do, with the tabletop gaming news of the day. The humorous board game Sheep in Disguise is going to be arriving this summer from Skybound Games. That's right, I don't usually talk about Skybound Games too often, but recently they've been coming out with a lot more stuff. So here's the lowdown on Sheep in Disguise. Sheep in Disguise is a vibrant and strategic card game about protecting adorably helpless sheep from being devoured by the many outrageous and dangerous predators of the world. Collect flocks of sheep, keep them safe from attacks, and use action cards to destroy anyone that gets in your way. Players take turns drawing cards to collect matching sets of disguised sheep and a variety of powerful action cards. When a player's collected 3 sheep of a kind, they must be placed face up on the table immediately. This set of 3 sheep is called a flock. In a 4-player game, the first person to collect 4 unique flocks is the winner. On their turn, a player may use as many action cards as they like by playing them to the discard pile. They may also make 1 trade with the field per turn. The field is a constantly changing group of cards in the middle of the table that players can exchange cards with to help them build a strong hand. The field guarantees that the game isn't completely luck of the draw and allows the player to strategize and build combo moves in order to progress their game. Players can also target an opponent's flock by placing an expose card, I think maybe it's expose card, on top of it. This action exposes, yeah, it is expose card. Expose, what is it? Paparazzi and the sheep? This action exposes the flock's disguise, leaving them vulnerable to an attack. Players must choose to take the risk of leaving their flock exposed or pay to remove the exposed card, ensuring the flock's identity remains a secret. When an attack card is drawn, all exposed flocks are destroyed. Be strategic and be devious. If you play your cards right, you can turn the attack card into an extremely powerful tool to help you get ahead. Otherwise, you may end up as the victim. If you find yourself falling behind, don't worry. All players are in it until the very end, and 1 big move is all it takes to flip the whole game on its head. Sheep in Disguise is for 2 to 6 players, ages 10 and up, plays in around 20 to 45 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $20 when it arrives this summer. John points out style looks a little bit like Adventure Time. It does just a bit, doesn't it? Also looks a little bit like, isn't it the Oatmeal, whose art style is a little bit like that too? I know, if I remember right, I think the Oatmeal did the artwork for Exploding Kittens. I think. I think he did. But yeah, I thought this looked kind of funny. It's kind of, it could be kind of interesting for, the kids playing with the family. My next news piece, well, this isn't going to be for kids, that's for sure. Because currently up on the GMT Games P500 for pre-order is the card-driven 1848, The Springtime of Nations. Here's what I know. 33 years after the Congress of Vienna, continental Europe still lives under the reactionary system designed by the Austrian Prince Metternich, the dominant figure of the age. Outside of England and France, absolute monarchy is the norm. And even in the latter, Louis Philippe, the bourgeois king, is busy rolling back the people's hard-fought liberties. In the East, the empires of the Holy Alliance, Austria, Russia, and Prussia, enforce ruthless repression against progressive ideas, whether nationalist, Republican, Democratic, liberal, or socialist. But the time is ripe for revolution, and the conflagration of 1848 will shake this old system to its core in a whirlwind of insurrection and new ideas. People's wars will rage. 1848, The Springtime of Nations, is a two-player card-driven game depicting the unprecedented wave of revolutionary activity that swept across Europe in the titular year of 1848. Based on the hit area control system pioneered by GMT's 1989, I almost said 1898. 1989, baby. Dawn of Freedom, and, of course, Twilight Struggle. It pits the forces of the revolution against those of the counter-revolution in a struggle to decide the future of Europe and the world. The revolutionary player controls the various insurgent and progressive movements, trying to usher in a new order, while the counter-revolutionary player leads the forces of reaction, aiming to preserve the status quo. They will fight over and across the empires and nations of Europe, attempting to suppress their enemies' influence and extend their own through a combination of political and military force, all while navigating a myriad of historical events of the time. 1848, The Springtime of Nations, is for 2 players, ages 14 and up, plays around 2.5 to 3 hours, and can be pre-ordered right now for the P500 price of $46, which sounds like a pretty rockin' deal right there. It is going to carry an expected MSRP of $66, and I will say, last I looked, this is very close to hitting 500 pre-orders. So I got the feeling that this will go to the printer, and it sounds very interesting. But of course, you already know, Twilight Struggle is one of my absolute favorite games. I am a sucker for card-driven war games and board games because this also strikes me as being along the lines of very abstracted warfare going on. So, by all means, check it out. Let's move on to some role-playing game news, because arriving in May from Paizo Inc. is Starfinder Ports of Call. Here's the skinny. In the wake of the upheaval to interstellar travel caused by the galaxy-wide drift crisis, countless new worlds await exploration by eager and opportunistic starfarers. Ports of Call, the latest hardcover resource for the Starfinder role-playing game, presents 10 highly detailed spaceports and settlements across all of space. From Drifter's End on Absalom Station to the rebuilt megacity of Izadamar in the Scoured Stars, to the wonders of the theme park planets of Galarian World. Other featured locales include a collection of warships called the Bastion that protects against the insectile hordes of the alien swarm. Damn you, swarm! Or the starship port of Skydock on Verces. Each location provides area maps, regional overviews, and customs, local character options like equipment and spells, copious adventure hooks, and more, offering a huge selection of interesting sites for stopovers or long-term stays. Along with all of this, Ports of Call also features an overview and poster-sized map of the Starfinder galaxy, new rules for easier and faster hyperspace travel along drift lanes, a new phenomenon coming out of the drift crisis, 4 new player character species, including giants, sentient ooze-like Solimids, the gaseous Fears, and the reptilian Zulgoths of Lost Galarian. Expanded downtime rules, new starship options, a cargo subsystem, new NPCs, a score of new side job adventures, and much more. This hardcover is going to carry an MSRP of $46.99. Or you'll be able to grab the PDF when they arrive May 24th, and that PDF will run you $19.99. So yes, we've got another setting book for Starfinder, and it seems like it's going to have a good amount of player-facing info as well. So we've got those new species, we've got new equipment. So I would take a guess we'll probably get some new archetypes tossed in there, or backgrounds, I guess we could say. So very nice. Very, very nice. MC and Sly Blue Demon are hanging with the gang. Welcome aboard to you both. Roger Prudhomme is pointing out that that card from 1848 basically translated to bread or lead. Kind of like that. Sly Blue Demon points out, Starfinder is a game they've always wanted to try out but have never had an opportunity to look into. So what I always recommend, and actually Vaughn Moore is asking, would anyone here recommend Starfinder as a first science fiction tabletop role-playing game? Why not? I gotta be honest. Why not? I don't know. Depends. To me, Starfinder is more like space fantasy, to me, it's a little more space opera-ish, which I'm cool with. I've got absolutely no problem with that at all. But if you're looking for something that's going to be a little more like hard science fiction, then I would say, probably Traveler. I would point you in the direction of Traveler. But you know what the thing about Starfinder is, and it's same thing with Pathfinder 2nd edition. And I will mention, we are probably not far off from seeing Starfinder 2nd edition. I know they'll run out of playtests and everything, but I'm figuring in the next year or so. Because Starfinder and Pathfinder 2nd edition mechanically are different. So they are very similar, don't get me wrong, but Starfinder mechanically is not the same as Pathfinder 2nd edition. Because mechanically, Pathfinder 2nd edition is not Pathfinder 1st edition either. So John says, I would, but the major issue they find it's a crunchy game full of math. I disagree. I mean, most of the math that's going to be taking place is actually on the game master's side, not the players. The players, granted, yes, there's usually a bunch of different modifiers and things like that, but those are always calculated ahead of time. They're on their character sheets, so they've got that. Yes, Pathfinder and Starfinder are both crunchier role-playing games, but I would say, I'll sum it up this way. If you're a game master who likes to homebrew your adventures and things like that, yes, I would say Starfinder's fine for the first science fiction role-playing game you tackle. If you are, and you want like science fiction, if you want Star Trek kind of adventures, or Firefly, or The Expanse, things like that, I would probably point you closer to Traveler if you are going to use published adventures. Because the published adventures for Starfinder tend to be very space fantasy-ish. So MC says, you got a cowman arguing with a giant mouse. What's not to like? Vaughn also points out that space opera is one of their favorite science fiction subgenres. Very tough to find good space opera books, though. I will mention something when we get past the news, talking about a series that I find to be a guilty pleasure that I've talked a couple of my friends into checking out, and they've enjoyed it as well. Anyway, let's move on to our next news piece, because nearly 2 weeks remain to support the Blood and Doom role-playing game over on Kickstarter. I've got the scoop from Dicetale Games and Modiphius Entertainment. Blood and Doom is an immersive fantasy role-playing game unlike any you have seen before, set in the captivating and wondrous world known as Aether. Aether? I'm going to say Aether. I didn't watch the video. That's why I don't know how to pronounce it. Get ready to discover a realm shrouded in mystery and legend. The game will take you on a journey from the misty jungles of Ishta to the arid deserts of Athenia and beyond, where ancient ruins and forgotten tombs hide dark secrets of the past. From out of the secluded corners of towering cities and subterranean complexes, 12 vile cults are corrupting land, sea, and sky. Their unhallowed chants and perverted rituals call to the unfathomable extra-dimensional beings known as the Heralds of Doom, as their disciples gather in the dark to perform obscene rituals that will bring death and destruction to the world. Blood and Doom offers a fast-paced, operatic experience with cinematic action and intuitive mechanics. Easy to learn and highly customizable, the game will appeal to both newcomers and veteran players looking to engage in expansive campaigns. Blood and Doom uses a player-facing D10 dice pool system and mechanics that reflect its gritty and adventurous setting. Fuel your powers and magic with the essence of Aether itself, as you embody one of 18 unique archetypes, such as the Gladiator, Vanguard, Stargazer, Mystic, or Night Stalker. One of you will take on the role of the Doomsayer, known as the Game Master or Dungeon Master in other games, and orchestrate the many challenges and obstacles on the adventurer's path to glory. There is a short Kickstarter video to give you a little better feel for Blood and Doom. So, let's give this a peek. There are a variety of different pledge levels for Blood and Doom, but you can reserve the 3-volume slipcase set, all hardcovers, for a $162 pledge. That's kind of the highest one out there. Like I said, there are quite a lot of these pledge levels. You can grab everything in PDF for a $50 pledge, and that includes the core rule book, the setting book, some adventures. There's quite a bit going on. This Kickstarter runs through April 30th. It is past 200% funding, Expected delivery on both the digital and physical releases is this December. Should point out, right now, there are over 500 free pages of Blood and Doom materials available as a primer. It's over on DriveThruRPG. Yes, you heard me right. Over 500 pages of content completely free. Pretty wild. Pretty wild. So we've got Russell Higgins, as well as Disavowed 92 and Kevin R. Smith are hanging. So is Coco B. Coco B has joined us as well. Do want to mention, MC points out that Sly Flourish was talking about this on their Twitch stream. MC, we do not discuss other outlets during the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Ban that man. No, joking. I gotta be honest, I didn't know Sly Flourish did a Twitch stream. I didn't. I know they do a lot of D&D stuff. So Coco B says, did someone say free? I'll be right back. MC's like, apologies. I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. All right, on to my final news piece. There is a new supplement for Best Left Buried. It's out in PDF from SoulMuppet Publishing. Here's the dope on Throne of Avarice. Hail to the conquerors, to the plundermen, to the hand of prosperity, to Kalman and the benighted shackles of empire. Throne of Avarice is a setting book and procedural generation toolbox for adventuring in the fantasy horror game Best Left Behind. The tools and tables within present doomsayers with the means to generate the citizens, victims, regions, and reprehensible rulers of the Grand Duchy of Kalman, a nation struggling to reclaim its dominion over the known world. Included within is a massive array of tools and tables for biomes, settlements, and all manner of factions, both famed and feared, from well-known crypt-digging companies, predatory ducal bureaus, to consortium subsidiaries, with their tendrils across the known world and the despairing rebellions which would struggle against these bleak ambitions. This is a realm best left buried. The 308-page PDF of Thrones of Avarice is available right now over at DriveThruRPG for $20. I like Best Left Buried. I thought it was very cool. I thought it was very, very well done. And you can get the 3, I don't want to say core books, because there is a core rule book, and then there's a couple of supplements that came out later, which are excellent. But they're all collected in Best Left Buried Deeper, which you may recall I did a review of and liked quite a bit. So once again, this is available over at DriveThruRPG for 20 bones. All right, that is it for tonight's news. Of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to go visit, say, DriveThruRPG or Dungeon Masters Guild or Storyteller's Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you feel thegaminggang.com is a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop by paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation. Just like the Madman and Roger Prudhomme and Marcus Georges did very recently, and all three of them made not so small donations either. So, always appreciate everybody out there using those banner ads and or visiting paypal.me. Hooray! All right. So we are going to be diving on into Ticket, look at Dying Earth in just a few moments. First, a couple of things I did want to mention. One, I got almost nothing done this weekend. I got one video out this weekend, and I had been like cranking through my reading so I could shoot a bunch of reviews over the weekend. And so what I normally do is Thursday is kind of my day away from everything, right? So Thursdays, I usually don't do anything involving the gaming gang. Maybe I'll play some games. That's about it. So normally Thursday is like my day away from everything. So Friday morning, I find out that our garage door opener is busted. So thankfully, it was not the spring. That broke over the winter. So that got replaced. But that was weird because I was like, couldn't actually leave the house for like, I think it was like 2-3 days. And of course, you know, trying to replace a garage door opener when the project is being overseen by your 86-year-old father. Gonna take forever. So I was like, damn. It's done. It's working. But man, it was like every time I turned around, it was something else. It's like, oh my gosh, your kid, the new garage door opener is shorter. The bar is shorter. So, yes. So, I was hoping to have gotten like another 3 videos out there over the weekend, but I didn't. All I did get out was kind of a fun video. It's how not to let rules get in the way of your game. I think if I remember right, it's titled, "Don't Let Rules Derail Your D&D," asterisk, and then it's like a little footnote, or any other tabletop role-playing game for that matter. So I share a trio of tips that I recommend for those out there who feel intimidated by rule sets that they run across. So, like I said, kind of fun video. But there was a whole lot more that I had planned. All right, the other thing I was going to mention is just during the news, I said there is a book series. I've listened to the audiobooks, to be honest, which I find is a guilty pleasure. And I don't know if I brought these up before. I may have. But I was just talking with my best friend, Elliot Miller. And I had already given him the audiobooks for Joe Abercrombie. Yes. Awesome. Love me that Joe Abercrombie. But I said, if you're looking for kind of like space opera, like, you got to check out Galaxy's Edge. And no, I don't mean the theme park in Disney World. And I think Disneyland too has that, right? Don't they? The Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It's actually really good. It's very strange. It's like it's 2 authors, right? And the books tend to kind of like change their kind of style. So the first book is more like, because I know at least one of the authors is ex-military. So it's kind of got more of a, like grunts in space kind of thing. And then the like even number books are kind of like Star Wars. I mean, and they are like, there's stuff that's like, man, that is like right out of Star Wars. But it's actually a lot of fun. kind of surprised. And I think all in all, there's like a dozen books now. I haven't listened to all of it. I listened to, I think it was 6 books made up like the first like story, the major story. And I just, I got a kick out of it. It was fun. So check that out. I cannot remember the authors' names. I think one of them is, their last name is Cole. C-O-L-E. Alrighty. Quantum Phase Dragon has flown on into chat. Good to see ya. So Coco B says they're looking to pick up Best Left Buried Deeper once they get some refund money based on my review. Once again, I always like to point out, there you go, Disavowed 92, Nick Cole, thank you, and Jason Onspach. There's Onspach. I would think it's Onspach. Yeah, it's, like I said, it's, like I said, a guilty pleasure, right? Like you've got those movies that you're a fan of that other people are like, I don't know about that. It's kind of like that. Kevin says, I've never had a chance to read any Joe Abercrombie. I would highly recommend checking it out. And the audiobooks are excellent. The narrator, the performer that they have for it's all of his books as the same on Audible. Fantastic. Really, really well done. So I have not listened to the recent trilogy that he wrote. It's in the pipeline. So, alrighty. There is that. Anyway, we are going to dive on into Dying Earth. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
I float through the air with the greatest of ease, with or without the flying trapeze. My act is so great, gravity I defy, 'cause I drink T-O-D-D-Y.
Yes, Toddy, the chocolate malt in a can.
Get it, everybody. It's time to drink your chocolate toddy.
Mmm, delicious.
From the land of sky blue waters comes the water best for brewing. Ham's beer, refreshing Ham's beer.
The beer that's brewed with water best for brewing. Tastes best, refreshes you best. Glass after glass after glass. That's Ham's, the one right beer for those who want another. Tastes so right, it bears repeating.
Capturing the frosty refreshment of this land of magic enchantment. Ham's beer, refreshing Ham's beer.
Ham's tastes so right, it's worth repeating.
It bears repeating.
No, I'm not gonna drink any more Wilkins instant coffee. No, he's not gonna drink any more coffee.
Now, for every kid who has ever seen a science fiction movie, thrilled to the amazing strength of an out-of-this-world movie monster, comes Great Garloo by Marx. Garloo the Mighty. Garloo the Untamed. Garloo the Terrible. Who can stop him? Who can control this monstrous creature? You can, kids, because Great Garloo by Marx is yours to command. With these battery-operated controls, you can make Garloo go, stop, bend, pick up, turn. Yes, Great Garloo, almost 2 feet tall, will be your faithful servant. You name it, you're the boss. Bring out-of-this-world excitement into your house, kids. Own the most fantastic toy of all. Great Garloo by Marx.
M-A-R-X spells Marx, world's largest toy maker.
Garloo! Yes! Garloo! All right, why did that pop up like that? We're missing I was messing around. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking to get. Hold on a second here. There we go. I was moving some stuff around when I did that don't let the rules stand in the way of your fun video. So, strangely enough, didn't put that right back in the right order. Sarah D has decided to pop out and say hello. She's asking if that commercial for Wilkins Coffee was written in response to a complaint about how violent Wilkins is. Yeah, it's kind of funny because Wilkins is holding that sign that says something like TV Anti-Violence League or something like that. Yes. Coco B says Joe Abercrombie's First Law trilogy is wickedly gritty. Highly recommend it. One thing I found very interesting about that, and no spoilers, the beginning of the first book of that trilogy ties into what happens at the end of the third book. It's really wild how it's kind of like, wait a second, isn't this where we came in? So Kevin says, strangely, having Wilkins explicitly say that Wilkins is dead seems worse than seeing Wilkins shot with a cannon. All righty then. So today we are going to dive on in and take a first look at the box set for Dying Earth. It is for Dungeon Crawl Classics. It's from Goodman Games, written by Mark Bruner, Julian Bernick, Bob Brinkman, and Terry Olson, with art provided by Doug Kovacs. This box set carries an MSRP of $59.99, or you can grab the 278-page PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $39.99. So we're going to swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got Dying Earth. A few things I do want to mention before we dive on in. First of all, I'm just going to take the shrink wrap off here. I notice it's kind of cool. It's got a little bit of a cool little Dungeon Crawl Classics. I'm trying to get it to catch the light here. So, do want to mention the fine folks over at Goodman Games were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. And these days, it's important that you know that. We are going to dive on in. There are 3 books inside. We are not going to look at each and every page, but I do want to give you a very good feel for what's in this box set. Also, the folks over at Goodman Games sent along Aeon Stones. I think that's how they're pronounced in the Jack Vance world. The reality is, it's Zaki dice. So we're going to take a look at the Zaki dice. Do not let me forget. And Darius Termina is joining us in chat. I believe this might be a first-time visit, so welcome aboard. So they're saying this is a post-apocalyptic fantasy world I take. Actually, this is based on the stories of Jack Vance and the Dying Earth. So let's take a look at the back here. Explore the singular world of Jack Vance's Dying Earth. Set in the distant last days of the world where magic and science blend together and querulous sorcerers feud endlessly. With Dungeon Crawl Classics Dying Earth, you'll discover the tools to play in Cudgel's world, Cudgel and Rialto's world, seeking the mighty pendulum or fall tune in different grue while searching for scintillant baubles among the ensorcelled remains of the ancient earth. This box set contains comprehensive rules, options, and new material for the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game, explicitly designed to capture the setting of the Dying Earth. Within, you will find new classes, creatures, patrons, spells, and more, inspired by the Dying Earth stories for use in your DCC RPG game, including 4 new classes: Magician, Vat Thing, Wayfarer, and Witch. Kind of curious that the Vat Thing is the kind of like created humans. If you're familiar with the Dying Earth stories, you'll know what I'm talking about. As well as new rules for grudge tokens to track the resentments that characters accumulate with every minor imprecation they encounter. This set also includes a beautiful map of the world of Dying Earth, illustrated by Doug Kovacs. A copy of the Dungeon Crawl Classics rulebook is required to use this box set. Kevin says he believes Dying Earth was the first post-apocalyptic fantasy world. You could very well be right. I do remember there was off the top of my head, there was a relatively famous novel from about 1950, which is when the first Dying Earth book was released. And I want to say it was like post-apocalyptic, but it was not fantasy. It was, this is what happens, nukes dropped, and so forth. So we have print and digital. So there is a code for a free copy to go with this digitally, which I will be giving away. Dun, dun, dun. That is correct. So, and the funny thing is, I am not going to share that information like on Twitter or anything like that. So, kind of keep the number of contestants down. And I will tell you, after we're done taking a peek through this, what exactly you'll need to do to get into the running if you are familiar with how I usually do my contests. It'll be about the same thing. Mike S. is chiming in saying, so this would predate the Dark Sun setting? Oh, yeah, this would predate it by decades. Because the Dying Earth, the first book came out in 1950. I think the last book came out, and there's really 4 books that make up the Dying Earth stories for the most part. I think the last book came out in 86. Coca B points out Dying Earth was an influence for Gary Gygax. Yes. So, right, I was just about to say what Kevin points out, that we get Vancian magic from Dying Earth. So, first book we've got here is The Player's Librum. So, 100 unusual landmarks on the back here. Now, someone had commented on YouTube on the community page where I was sharing that we were going to be taking a look at this tonight, and they had mentioned, "Hey, you know what? I don't know if the Dungeon Crawl Classics art style is a good fit for the Dying Earth. And I gotta be honest, I disagree. I think from a lot of the Dungeon Crawl Classics art that I have seen, and of course, I haven't seen much. I've reviewed the core rulebook and one of the adventures. That's pretty much it. And I can see it fitting very easily. I'm kind of curious if we're going to see an image of Kugel wearing the oddball hat that he seems to be drawn in a lot. It's almost like the witch's hat from Wizard of Oz, and then it's got like levels to it. It's weird. So if you are not familiar with Dying Earth, the books are essentially what are known as fix-ups. I don't know if that's really a term that's used much anymore. But what a fix-up would be is it would be a book that would be released as a novel, but it was actually made up of short stories. So a prime example of a fix-up is The Martian Chronicles from Ray Bradbury. And essentially, the Dying Earth books are fix-ups. So here we got some sources. Here we go. I was going to say, I was kind of curious if they were going to bring this up. It says a note on Vancian language. During the course of this project, the writing team drew inspiration, much of it whimsical, from the rich tapestry of language that pervades Jack Vance's stories, including those of the Dying Earth. There is a poetry that infuses Vance's prose. His sentences are filled with evocative descriptions and the almost casual use of obscure or invented sesquipedalian words. I don't even, is that a real word? I don't know. It evokes Lovecraft, Clark Ashton Smith. Oh yeah, most definitely Clark Ashton Smith and Dunsany, but with a craftsman's affinity for restraint and economy and a storyteller's delight in pulp and action. So we've got our Dying Earth sources. So here we go. So the first is The Dying Earth, right, 1950, a collection of 6 stories. Then we got The Eyes of the Overworld, 1966. Kugel's Saga, 1983. And Rialta the Marvelous, 1984. I thought it was 86. But once again, they're made up of short stories. It's not truly a novel. And it looks like we've got some footnotes there as well. So we've got the setting of the 21st eon. So what's going on in the Dying Earth is the sun is dying. So this is supposed to be far, far, far in the future. So there have been millions of civilizations that have risen and fallen. And the sun is burning out. And there are still fantastical objects. But everything is considered to be like magic, right? And magic actually comes from mathematics. So here's the VAT thing. Let's see what the VAT, that was what I was kind of curious about. So we got different occupations. Grudge tokens. In addition to a starting animus, an optional rule presented for judges is the use of grudge tokens. Grudge tokens are used to track the pervasive mutability of fortune into setting. Luck plays no small part in the novels of the Dying Earth. However, there is an equipoise of, to how it is depicted, counterbalancing wild successes with disastrous imprecations, as grudge tokens are intended to foster a style of role-playing that mimics the minor resentments and senses of entitlement. I was going to say, as soon as I read that sense of entitlement, I'm like, okay, Here comes Kugel. There he is, such as Kugel carry with them throughout the novels. They're not necessarily suitable for all players or tables, as such are presented as optional rules for judges. I think that would be pretty interesting. I don't know if I would necessarily use that at my table. Christopher Rush and Martin 7W are with us tonight. I believe this might be a first-time visit from Martin 7W, so welcome aboard. And, of course, Christopher Rush. Wow, they're an old pal of the show. So good to see you. So here is the VAT thing. So I guess the VAT thing is, I forget how to pronounce the two sisters that are found in the first book. In fact, they're in the first few stories. And I think they're considered VAT things in these rules. So this is all player-facing stuff here. This is all showing us the different classes that are now available. There's the magician. There's the VAT thing. You are the imperfect mold of a mathematician, searching for the matrix that orders the patterns of existence, the exotic creation of a morose aesthete. All right, so yes, I see that the fine folks over at Goodman Games are making sure to bust out their thesauruses for this. They're getting very Vancian in the presentation. But that's the VAT thing. The VAT thing is what I was talking about. For some reason, I want to say one of the sisters' name is Tisane. It's been a while. It's been a while since there you go. Just like so. I'm looking forward to really jumping on and reading this. This looks very, very interesting. There we've got the witch. Yes. I like that artwork. That's pretty cool. See what I mean? Habiliments of obvious efficacy for the discerning adventurer, or efficacy, I should say. It's like, geez. Okay, all right. Sure. These guys, they know I love to mispronounce fictional stuff. Fictional characters, yes. So we've got some appendices, it looks like. So we have languages. Fancy and verbiage. I love it. Christopher says, I always love Goodman Games art. Sweet. All right, so as I mentioned, this is player facing. And if you were tuning in a little late, you do need to have the core rulebook for Dungeon Crawl Classics in order to use Dying Earth. So here we've got the primer of practical magic. So as we started to discuss, and as I think it was Kevin who mentioned this, so Kevin says maybe the language should be considered High Vancian instead of High Gygaxian. Oh yeah. High Gygaxian comes nowhere close. Nowhere close. But I will point out, Jack Vance's use of language does turn some readers off. So as I have mentioned previously, I tend to listen to a lot of audiobooks. So I would think maybe if I were reading the Jack Vance books, I would maybe have a little problem with them as well. All right, so we're going to have preliminary principles, magic in the dying earth, magician abilities, limitations, and powers. witch pacts, squalms, and demonic corruption, philosophy and religion in the Dying Earth, spells of the Dying Earth. Magic in Dungeon Crawl Classics Dying Earth is both a science and an art, at once strange and familiar. It pervades the Dying Earth, infusing the ancient places through the long eons of Earth's history, where an infinite number of modes and effects have been discovered and forgotten. Most of all, in a setting where the aging world and its dim sun enumerates the fate of all characters, it is a means to power. For some, to renew the human destiny. For others, to reshape the universe and all its infinities as they will. So, if memory serves, there are only 100 spells that still remain. There were more, but they have been forgotten. And the way Vancian magic is supposed to work is that a magician can only keep so many of these spells in their head at one time. And once they speak the syllables to the spell, then the spell is lost from memory. They have to restudy in order to regain that spell. And one of the interesting aspects of Vancian magic is that it becomes very strategic. So in the Dying Earth, there are some very, very powerful magic users, but they can't have every spell they know at their disposal. So they can only memorize so many spells. So it's very strategic how they go about memorizing those spells. So just to mention that, that's not so much how magic works in Dungeons and Dragons. And as, of course, as the editions of Dungeons and Dragons have piled up over the years, they've gotten a little more and more away from Vancian magic. There are ways around those spell limitations. In fact, there are some classes that do not memorize spells. So, associations of the Dying Earth, the Obtrank Normalcy, the Grey Sorcerers, Miram Or, Temachin, the Collegium, and the Guardians of Secrets. Coco B says, Sleep Spell, level 1. Sly Blue Demon says they love Vancian magic. But I was going to say, as far as the artwork, I'm digging it. I don't know about you folks in chat, but I think I'm not seeing any issues. So I'm not seeing anything where it's like, that doesn't feel like that should be in Dying Earth. I got to give a lot of credit to the folks over at Goodman Games, Joseph Goodman, and the rest of his team, because they really have taken it upon themselves to really preserve sword and sorcery. I mean, the reality is they really have, because not only do we have Dying Earth, we also have, and hopefully at some point I get an opportunity to take a peek, because we talk Fritz Leiber and Gray Mouser and Fofford all the time, right? We talk about them all the time. And Goodman Games has Langmar. So I have heard very good things about that. So they also have very recently kickstarted. I don't know if it's out yet. I know they kickstarted it, and it is for Empires of the East. And if memory serves me correctly, that would be Fred Saberhagen. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but for some reason, I think it's Fred Saberhagen. Right, so we're looking at some of the spells here. If you are not familiar with Dungeon Crawl Classics, one of the things that really stands out about DCC is the magic system, because you can have relatively low-level magic users just blast out some insanely powerful spells by using what's known as spell burn. And what that means is the magic user is actually burning points from their attributes in order to power the spell. So I think, in my opinion, one of the absolute highlights of Dungeon Crawl Classics is the magic system itself. Plus, they've got some really cool rules for like magical duels, counter spells, things like that. So we're just taking a look at some of the various different spells. Now, in Dying Earth, in the stories, the spells have kind of oddball, weird names. Vaughn says terrific art in their opinion that we've seen so far. The life gong. The green and purple postponement of joy. So I see a lot of this is pretty much in DCC style as far as these spells, because what you'll have is the like, how does the spell manifest itself? So wizards may know the same spell, but when they cast a spell, it might be completely different as far as what do they have to do to cast the spell, or what does the spell look like. Sly Blue Demon mentioned they ordered the first time fan kit for Dungeon Crawl Classics and got this box set just waiting for it in the mail. Can't wait to run something. I shared a video about the first time fan kit, and I thought it was a really nice deal. I got the soft cover of the core rule book. So looks like we've got over 100 pages here, and a great deal of it is just the actual magical spells. Now, that is one thing that I will point out that throws some people, if you're more familiar with, say, Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons, is that the entries for the spells in DCC, and obviously here as well, are pretty long because we have these different tables. So another aspect of Dungeon Crawl Classics magic is that when you cast a spell, you don't necessarily forget it. But for most of the spells, you are rolling to see if you successfully cast the spell, something that you normally don't do with, say, D&D. Your spells normally automatically work. Now, the target of those spells may get to roll a save against it. So, John says it has the first edition D&D vibe. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Everything I've had an opportunity to take a peek at from Goodman Games, and it hasn't been tons of stuff, but always gives me that vibe of these folks get it when it comes to OSR. But here's the funny thing. Most people don't feel Dungeon Crawl Classics is OSR because mechanically it's closer to like 3rd edition D&D, which, if you saw my OSR video, I talk about, in my opinion, I find the old school Renaissance to be a mindset. I don't necessarily think of it as being something mechanical, but everybody's got a different definition of OSR. Right, so here we're going to get patrons. Patrons are a big deal in Dungeon Crawl Classics. We have the Lands of the Dying Earth, talismans, amulets, and instruments, both minor and major. Codex of creatures monstrous and mundane, unusual elements, games of chance, and provisions and viands. So here we've got our patrons. There's Pandaloom. If I remember correctly, I think Pandaloom is supposed to be the wizard who knows all 100 spells that remain. Create Fat Thing. So if you are familiar with, say, the stories of Fritz Leiber and Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, their patrons would be Shilba of the, isn't it Shilba of the Eyeless Face, and then Ningoble. Yeah, there you go. There's Jeff mispronouncing fantasy fictional names again. I'm so good at it. So here we've got a little bit of, looks like a gazetteer. Some encounters. That's pretty bizarre. This cloak with the different eyes. See, another reason why I kind of consider Dungeon Crawl Classics to be OSR is because you find a lot of tables. There are a lot of tables in Dungeon Crawl Classics. Magic Car of Ampredadver. I remember the flying car. So it looks like these are, those were, that I think that was some equipment. Now here we have the creatures. So we get a bit of a bestiary here. The Ghoul Bear. The Madlock. So one aspect of the Dying Earth stories is that since the world is dying, people don't, most people don't tend to have society's best interests at heart, right? So I'm not saying that all the characters in the Jack Vance stories are like anti-heroes or anything like that. But like Kugel, in my opinion, Kugel's a dickhead. And he makes up for about half of the page count for the Dying Earth books. About half of what Jack Vance wrote, he's the main character. So, yeah, kind of a different sort of setting. I wonder, we'll find out when I read through all this. I'm kind of curious if that is addressed in this, where most of the characters from Jack Vance in The Dying Earth are very self-centered. So Kugel especially. So this is the intimate anatomy of several creatures and personages of the 21st Aeon. Then we have the Primer of Practical Magic, which is the longest of the books, as well as the Player's Librum. Then we have a map from Doug Kovacs. It is the dying earth. There we go. Just like so. And decent paper stock. This should hold up fairly well. There we go. All right. So in the box set, we've got the map as well as the trio of books. And once again, this carries an MSRP of $59.99. You can grab the PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $39.99. Sly Blue Demon says they've never heard of the Adventures of Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. You spelled Fafhrd correctly. You did. They're going to add it to their reading list. Yes, Fritz Leiber. And may I point out, the audiobooks on audible.com are excellent. Another narrator who does a really, really good job. All right, so let's take a look at the Zaki dice that were also sent along. And while we're taking a peek at the Zaki dice, I'm going to tell you how you can win my copy of the PDF that comes with the box set. See, I won't need it, right? So I'm going to provide that to someone else. And all you're going to need to do is like this video and comment in the comment section and let me know who is your favorite sword and sorcery author and what is your favorite sword and sorcery character. All right, so here we've got our Zaki dice. Let's see what we've got. Actually, it looks like we've got two of them glow in the dark. It looks like 10-sider and this 30-sider will glow in the dark. Try to look. They look like they would. So we get some kind of strange value dice. Like this is a 3-sided die. Here we've got another 10-sider, which is our 10s, right? So there's our 20-sider. Speaking of dice, I'm kind of curious if anyone out there in chat got their Arby's dice today. Yes, Arby's have these game dice. They're sold out. Don't bother looking today. But there's supposed to be another drop of them on the 21st. And it is a set of 7 dice. And those 7 dice have, I think, if I remember right, I think they're $12. But they're actually, they actually look kind of funny. So they're clear, and inside each of the dice is a little Arby's hat. So wait a second now. Oh no, okay, so this is a 5-sided die. So I was gonna say, wait a second, did I accidentally get 2 3-sided dice? But no, this is a 5-sided die. There's an 8. Here's a 12. I know we've got a 16. That's the 16. This is the 24. Oh, wait a second. Is this the 12? Because I know there's like a 7-sided die. I think this is the 7. Like I said, the Zaki dice are bizarre. So let's see something here. Yeah, okay. Because the way the numbers were, yeah, okay, all right. I was going to say, the way the numbers are on the die, they look kind of odd, but when I rolled it, it actually does show. You look at it and you see it. So Vaughn says, got to be Howard and Conan, or Conan, I guess I should say. Well, Vaughn, you gotta share that comment in the comment section. Coco B says, the last Arby's closed here in 2020. You don't get them at Arby's. You got to order them from Arby's. You can only get them online. So you don't need to have an Arby's store. Right, 6-sided die, 3-sided die, yes. So there we go. We have got the Zaki dice, or in this case, they're the Eon stones, or Ion stones. Zaki dice. So that is cool, because I have 2 sets of Zaki dice now, because remember, I got the first time fan kit for Dungeon Crawl Classics. So sweet. I definitely love the fact that that big 30-siders glow in the dark. Something else that I received. We're not going to page through them, but I do want to show you them because I will share some videos of them. The fine folks over at Goodman Games also sent me all 9 adventures that are now available for Dying Earth. So we've got Adventure 0, which is Pilgrims of the Black Obelisk, The Laughing Idol of Larshan. And you'll notice this is for level 0, so this must be a funnel adventure, which is something else that is really a big deal with Dungeon Crawl Classics and a lot of fun. In fact, Dungeon Crawl Classics pretty much came up with the whole concept of, or I should say Goodman Games, came up with the concept of the funnel adventure. So, level 1 adventure, The Laughing Idol of Larshan. Level 2 adventure, The Sorcerer's Tower of Sanguine Slant. The Magnific Machinations at the Grand Exposition of Marvels for level 3. I really like this cover. This is pretty cool. Mind Weft of the Moonstone Palace, level 4. Penumbra of the Polar Ape for level 5. So Coco B says, I think to be Eon stones, they have to rotate around your head. Yeah, I thought, yeah, isn't that what they do? Then we've got the Great Visp Hunt. So that is number 6, but this is for level 2. Something else to keep in mind, as far as levels go, Dungeon Crawl Classics, characters go to level 10. But to get like an equivalent of a, say, 5e character, you would multiply the DCC character's level by 2. So like a 4th level DCC character is more along the lines of an 8th level Dungeons and Dragons character. All right, so then we've got Phantoms of the Ectoplasmic Cotillion, which is for level 3. That's adventure number 7. And then adventure number 8, The House on the Island. So it is a level 3 adventure. Hey, it's by Errol Otis. I was going to say, the artwork you can tell is by Errol Otis, but the adventure is by Errol Otis. Very cool. So what I am going to do is I am actually going to share just standalone videos where I'm going to take a look at 3 adventures at a time. And then when I do my review, I will do the same thing. I will review 3 of the adventures at a time. Because to me, it's kind of silly if I'm going to sit there and do a video just for like a first look at one adventure that clocks in probably at like 22 pages. To me, that's a little goofy. So that is what I shall be doing with these adventures. Very, very nice. Very, very cool. And I'm going to tell you right now, tonight, I'm going to be diving on into this box set because I am very, very interested to check this out. And should have my review within a couple of weeks. I wouldn't think it'd be longer than that. So anyway, once again, if you want to get into the running to win my PDF copy of the box set, not all the adventures, the box set, then you need to like this video. You have to be, I should also mention, you have to be a subscriber to the channel. That's a given. So like this video, That I can't tell if you do it or not, but please do it. It helps with the engagement and to share this video with other people too. So be a subscriber, like the video, comment in the comment section your favorite sword and sorcery author, as well as your favorite sword and sorcery character or fantasy character. It doesn't necessarily have to be sword and sorcery. Vaughn asks, are the books staple bound? The adventures are, the books are not. I will show you in a second. Well, this box is tough to open. Of course, I have this set for this. The autofocus is not on. I have the focus set at this distance. So as you can see, I forget what they call this. I think this is perfect bound. Is that what they call that? So the Madman pointed out, if you want to get those Arby's dice, it's the Arby's shop website. So once again, on the 21st, they will be available again. I think they did this a couple of years ago too. All right, so there you have it. Dungeon Crawl Classics, all these adventures, as well as the box set, all from Goodman Games. Let's swing on over to the other camera. I told you this was going to be a big, jam-packed show. And you didn't believe me. You're like, you're lying, Jeff. This show's going to be like 45 minutes long. Sweet. Very cool. And I got to say, I'm super excited that Goodman Games has sent me something to review because I've been trying to get on board with them. What is it, 2 years now? 3 years? So pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. All right. So if you're curious, what's cooking the rest of the week? It is role-playing games all week long here on the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Tomorrow, we are going to be taking a peek at Achtung Cthulhu 2D20, the Player's Guide from Modiphius Entertainment. And as a bonus, we are going to take a peek through Assault on the Fiera Train, the adventure. I think this is issue 5. Yes. So the core books are issues 1 and 2. So we're going to take a look at that adventure. Then on Wednesday, we are going to jump on in and take a peek at the Game Master's Guide for Achtung Cthulhu 2D20. So we will be jumping on in, taking a look at this. This is actually a thicker book than the Player's Guide by, I think, like 40 to 60 pages, something like that. So that'll be this week. Next week, we are going to be taking a look at, on week from today. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, it would be. Week from today. Like zoning for a second. I got to mention there is a little ladybug that keeps flitting from light to light. And thankfully, the lights aren't exposed. Otherwise, it'd go psst. But she keeps flitting from light to light over here. A little distraction there. Anywho, week from today, we're going to take a look at Destinies from Lucky Duck Games. This is like a fantasy game. And looks kind of cool. It looks like it's got some minis in it and stuff. Well. Another company that has gotten around to sending a review copy of something. Then on Tuesday's show, we're going to take a look at Territory Tribes at War. So this is a fantasy deck building game. Looks kind of interesting. So we're going to jump on into that. And then a big thank you to Stephen Loudermilk because they got an extra copy of this Castles and Crusades adventure. I think it's 6 modules collected in a single book. And some other stuff. So it is the Shadow of Ofstrag for Castles and Crusades. You know, I love me my Castles and Crusades. Find it to be pretty cool. So Stephen was kind enough to send this along. he said, oh, I got an extra copy of it. And I let Troll Lord Games know. And they said, don't worry about it. Just keep it. So he's like, I'm going to send it to you. So here you go. So we're going to take a look at this on the dispatch a week from Wednesday. Kind of cool. I find it really wild how sometimes people will send me stuff and they have no affiliation whatsoever with a game company or a publisher. And they're just like, hey, I want to know what you think of this. They send it to me. Sweet. Very nice. Okay, so that is it for tonight's show. Of course, do me a favor. Give a thumbs up. Give a thumbs up, please. And of course, get in the running to win a PDF copy of Dungeon Crawl Classics, Dying Earth. Don't miss out, because I will announce the winner during my review. So you've got a couple of weeks. So get at it. Anyway, also, if you like the video, of course, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, if you do subscribe, don't forget, be sure to hit that bell, right? Don't want to miss out on that, because it'll not only let you know when the dispatch streams live, it'll also inform you when I upload other videos, such as this past weekend's Don't Let Rules Derail Your D&D, or any other tabletop role-playing game for that matter. So, by all means, ring that bell. If you were watching live, thank you very much. Always appreciate it. If you were watching live and took part in chat, an even bigger thank you, because not only do you get to keep me company, you're keeping each other company while I'm busy mispronouncing fictional names and places. Of course, I know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out to check out any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to start diving on into Achtung Cthulhu. And of course, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
Oh, hey, you're still here. That's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.